How we doing? Welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats. I'm your host, Hudson Klauke. We've got Mr. Bearcat himself again, Eric Lilly, joining us as always. Boy, do we have a show for you today. That music kind of just encapsulated how I'm feeling. I'm fired up. I could feel the momentum swinging in our favor. All of a sudden, the Satterfield takes are getting less and less hot. People are flipping the script on that. We got a great show for you, though. We're going to talk briefly on the big win against Arizona State. Homecoming, that's a W. Deion Sanders in town. Get your cowboy hats ready. We'll talk all things Colorado UC. And last but not least, back by popular demand, the new segment, our stat of the week. But first, let's jump into something. I didn't see the official Bearcats Twitter handle and really mention this at all. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Corey Kiner, under the radar, he became the 15th running back in UC history to rush for over 2,000 yards this past weekend. Joins the likes of Isaiah Peed, Michael Warren, Mike Boone. And when the season ends, it looks like he's going to have a good chance to get in that top 10 area if he stays healthy, which, hopefully he does, fingers crossed. But what do you think, man? I think you might have been the first guy to even discover this. You sent the text to us. You're like, is anyone talking about this? And I'm like, I don't think so. But, I mean, this is pretty big news, man. We had some big running backs come through this program.
Yeah, I think he's got a shot. I was looking at that top 10. I think he could get to 8. If he can get to 2,500, we still got 5 games left. It's possible. Even like it sure look if he stays healthy, he's going to get top 10. I'm pretty sure, and it would be deserving. He's a local guy. We love him, and he was the 16th technically, but Ritter's a quarterback, so 15 sounds better. We're dropping quarterback out of the equation here for this stat, and Jerome Ford almost did it. So close. Also another great Bearcat. We gotta. I don't know what happened. Apparently, they released it in the post game notes. I thought 2K was, you see it on the big board. Maybe they do let the fans do a little clap, but maybe they'll honor him during the West Virginia game. We'll see. But yeah, it's a big milestone. 2,000 yards is a lot of yards, especially in today's era where you can leave whenever you want. And feels a little weird saying that because he transferred here, but great story, hometown hero.
Yeah, and it's not like he's getting, 4 years and 4 cracks at it either. So doing this in the short amount of time that he's played is super impressive. And I like his chances he's certainly going to pass Ritter unless something crazy happens. I know he is the quarterback on that list. But yeah, I got high hopes. And he was an awesome form against Arizona State. He had the guy doesn't go down, man. He's always lower in the shoulder. The amount of times he gets hit in the backfield, I think he was only averaging like 4, almost 5 yards a carry, but it felt like a hell of a lot more than that. The way he runs and he punishes the defense every time. So I think we're going to see a lot of him against Colorado. But first, with Arizona State, I know you were actually there. I haven't talked to many people that were actually at the game. What was the atmosphere like? Getting that big W. I know Jeff Sims and company were there, but it ended up coming down. It was a little closer than we might have liked, but the W's the W. And yeah, how was the atmosphere out in Nip for homecoming?
It was fun. There were little nerves after that first drive. The scripted straight down the field. Scatterboo looks good, and I'm just like, oh, here we go. But you got to give credit to the guys. They responded instantly, took the nerves out of the building, and while the game overall was nerve-wracking still to me because I think you mentioned it in the post game. We didn't put them away. We got to do better with that. We left points on the board. We're the better team at home. Just finish them off. Like it doesn't have to be super pretty or anything, but find a way to get 7 more points there, guys. Like let's lose the stress, lose the anxiety, and just get it done. And we didn't do that. We didn't do it versus UCF. Won both games, so that's the main thing. But there's some things lurking there that make me wonder if like a Pitt thing could happen again if we face the right team, because UCF and ASU can't throw the ball. So, and real quick, back to Kiner real quick. That one Oh man, I wish he scored that touchdown. I think you know what I'm talking about, where the announcer's talking about the contact balance, like how great he is at just staying up. He's like a foot short, and then of course Scadaboo has his highlight of just killing Bartlett after knocking down two other guys. But it could have been prettier, but we got the win. Like we're on to the next week.
But yeah, and Kiner looked better than Scadaboo. I know Scadaboo had that one where he literally, knocked out 7 Bearcats and then stepped over him. I thought they were going to throw a taunting flag on that, but we'll let it slide because it was a pretty sick run, I will say. Um, we'll put it this way: 24 points, scoring 0 in the second half. It ain't going to work against Colorado. I can promise you that. Arizona State's defense is solid. Colorado, you would think at the beginning of the year when they got smoked by Nebraska, maybe this defense is a joke, but they've held up pretty strongly. So, I mean, Colorado is, they're substantially better than they were last year, of course, from the defensive side of the ball. We know what they're going to do offensively, and it's going to be fireworks. So 24 points, and the way our offense is stalled and not scored touchdowns, that's going to need to change against Colorado. And I hope it does, because we're going to be on the big stage, ESPN, 10:15. So, I mean, we gotta flip the script as far as our offense. I never thought I'd be saying that, but we got to put some more points on the board.
Oh yeah, and yeah, Colorado's defense is better. They've got their pass defense is really good. Like so, we talked about this last week. Every team we faced this year has been better at run defense, and maybe that's why our run offense hasn't been great. We will find out Saturday if we have a good run offense or not. Like, last year we were very good at it. This year it's less than stellar, but it's been solid. This is going to be where we find out, because Colorado, you can run it on them. They get to the quarterback, they guard the pass, but they've given up a lot of big plays to running backs. The teams can run the ball on them even when they're losing. So maybe this is the Kiner breakout. Maybe this is where we find out how balanced our attack really is, because I think we know it's there, but if we don't run the ball well versus Colorado, it's maybe next week we're talking about we have a problem here. Whether it's blocking, I don't think it's the running backs, obviously, but maybe it's a blocking issue.
Yeah, and maybe hopefully we can see another Evan Pryor. I think gets slept on a little bit. He's got a lead. I don't know what stat, some PFF, ultra analyst, as far as the number of touches and number of touchdowns or 30-yard plus runs, because it seems like once every 3 games he busts one for 50, and he gets like 4 touches a game. So I think we might see a little Evan Pryor after, Kiner, punishes the defense for a while as the bell cow, and then we slip in a guy that runs a 4 flat, it seems like, and busts one out. So I'm hoping to see a little bit of Pryor as well. But to your point, as far as we're gonna see a lot of things. I think this Colorado team is legit. I think they're almost underrated at this point. Now they're getting a little bit of buzz, but we're gonna find out if our defense has turned the page. I know we've mentioned this a couple of times, but we have not seen anybody like Shadur Sanders behind center. Eli Holstein, I know Chuck said Eli Holstein last time. Eli Holstein, all due respect, he's nowhere close to Shadur Sanders. And Sorsby's played lights out. Just looking at the stats here. And obviously, Colorado just throws the ball. They really don't even have a running attack. But he's thrown for almost 2,300 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 6 picks. And Sorsby's been awesome, and he's thrown for 1,900 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 4 picks. So that just gives you a little bit of perspective of how electric Shadur Sanders in this offense has been. Do you have any idea how we're going to slow this guy down? Because I'm worried sick about our secondary.
This game's so fascinating to me because Shadur, he runs around, and Satterfield mentioned it in his presser. He's like, we got to get to him. But when you're watching as a fan, when you see him rolling out, it's like almost the scariest part. It's what you're afraid of. But I think as a coach, that's what you want. You want unscripted stuff. You want to force him into making a bad decision. And like you said, we saw Holstein carve us. Morton for Texas Tech, He didn't go crazy on us, but he had 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was a really good game. They scored 44 points. We got to get to Shadur. We got to test their offensive line. And one thing I was looking at was the 3-3-5 defense. I was like praying, I was hoping, like hopefully Colorado has just never seen this defense, and it just kind of surprises Shadur. They faced it twice this year. Nebraska was one, and they got clamped. It was probably Shador's worst game of his career. But then Kansas State runs it too, and Shadur had a really good game against them. They lost, but he put up some good numbers. So they're familiar with at least like the principles of 3-3-5. Obviously, other teams run it differently, but we need a big one from the D line, like natural pressure from 3 or 4 guys. I don't think we could be running the house on these guys. They've got a lot of good receivers. Shadur will find his guy. So we need D line pressure on the quarterback and a couple swing plays. Maybe we get a fumble. Maybe we get a pick. We haven't had a pick in forever. So maybe it happens on Saturday.
Yeah, and you're right. We're going to need guys like Bartlett, Golday, Corleone, our defensive line to really play fantastic for us to keep this thing in reach. I think we will. We've been in every game that we played. I don't think it's going to change here against Colorado. And you mentioned, I mean, I thought the program was in shambles. I thought they were going to completely, just I'm word here. I can't get it. I thought the whole thing was going to go down the shitter, basically, for Colorado when I saw them get annihilated by Nebraska. And credit to Deion Sanders. He righted the ship. And all of a sudden, they lost a tight one against a very good Kansas State team, lost by 3. That could have went either way, and they'd be a ranked team right now. And I think, actually, whoever wins this game will probably end up, in that top 25 towards the bottom maybe. At least I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I'd love to see a little number next to UC's name in their next game. But right now, Colorado 5-2. Just mentioned them 3-1 in the Big 12 standings. We're also 5-2, 3-1 in the Big 12 standings. Battle of the second-year head coaches too. Deion Sanders and Scott Satterfield. Deion's 9-10 overall. Satterfield 8-11. 2 just shit shows last year, but now we're moving in the right direction. Both programs couldn't be more polar opposite human beings. Like, I wish Satterfield would have dressed up like Deion in his latest presser with like a chain and like big Gucci glasses, because he was looking pretty sick. I got to admit, I was like, damn, and he's got like the gray beard going. Deion Sanders is a cool son of a gun. There's no doubt about that. So I'm really interested because this is, I hate to say it, but this might have playoff implications. This is massive as far as the Big 12 standings. We're tied for 3rd right now. So it's not really out of reach as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, you're not a homer like for saying that. Whoever wins this game is probably going to be like even Vegas odds, but just in terms of talking as fans, whoever wins this game is their fans are going to go to their next game thinking they can make the playoff. Like, that's one of the great things about the playoffs is the expanded playoff is so many more fan bases can taste it longer in the season. Like previous years, I mean, when there's 2 or 4 teams getting in, it's like how many teams at this point are rooting for anything other than making their conference title game or a bowl game. So we have a scenario here where Cincinnati or Colorado this time next week is going to be, there's going to be a hype train. There's going to be excitement. And man, I hope it's us, because that West Virginia game out of the bye, like at home, maybe we get a nip at night at 6-2. That would be a crazy atmosphere if we pull this one off, and I hope it happens.
Well, it would, man. And this thing's going to be all over ESPN, literally airing on ESPN, but there's going to be tons of coverage. Deion actually had some really great things to say about UC. I thought, being Deion, he might throw some shade, give us a little bit of fuel, but he had pretty much all good things to say. He was like, I mean, they play tough, they're kind of in the same boat as us. They edge games out, haven't looked pretty all the time, but they get the job done, and he loves what Satterfield's doing over there. And he's got ties to Cincinnati. People forget Actually, probably nobody forgets because I feel like I see a Deion Sanders Reds jersey like once a month. But he played for the Cincinnati Reds, so he's familiar with the city. I'm sure he's going to be firing on all cylinders and hyped up beyond belief. So hopefully we can get a W here and really get on the national stage again. And to your point, I saw the latest odds. It was like a 1.6% chance to make the college football playoff. We're still alive, folks. We're still alive. We win this
It's
game, that's
there.
probably going to jump up to 20%. It's right
Oh
there.
man.
It's at our
All you need is a
fingertips.
little delusion, and it's fun being a fan. Just a little.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you brought up Dion's like persona and Satterfield being the opposite, but like it goes past that too. Like team building, opposites. Personality, opposites. It's this is a cool matchup, you know. Like it's just, you know, Satterfield looks like a math teacher. Dion's one of the most famous, you know, two sport athletes of all time. He's just, and you know, he's got his own brand. He does things different, which is cool to see in college football where
Boy Scouts
everybody
leader.
it's
Thanks,
cool
Chuck.
to see in college football where every coach says the same things. You know, their pressers, you know, they all have the same, they act the same way. So it's cool that we're seeing Dion versus Satterfield. It's polar opposites.
Oh, it really is. It's a clash of cultures for sure. And I'm wondering if we were talking about Dillingham making all the his players and himself wake up at like 6 a.m. to get acclimated to Eastern time. Is Satterfield forcing all the players to stay up till like 1:30 now? Because this game, again, if you haven't heard, it's 10:15 Eastern. So this thing is going to be going well past midnight. And Dion even said he didn't like the time being that late, but all eyes will be on everybody. I know I've seen some Twitter rumblings of people who are like, my biggest issue is I don't know when to start drinking, because if I start drinking like I normally do, you know, next thing you know, you're cross-eyed for the entire game. So everybody, get your waters in. Don't go too early and forget the entire game. All right, maybe a 7:30 tip as far as the beverages and the loggers are concerned, because this is going to be a late one, folks.
That's what I'm going to be saying at the bachelor party this weekend, because you know apparently I've never been there, so I can't say this for sure, but people are telling me to take it slow. The thin air causes issues with drinking.
Oh yeah.
So let's see how it goes. And yeah, it's a late start. Dion even said that he doesn't. You mentioned he doesn't like it. He said that their late starts, they've had slow starts to the game because it's hard to keep players, you know, focused all day, stuff like that. So you know, we had one night game and we started out hot versus Texas Tech. So let's do it again and see what happens.
Yeah, you're right. The thin air. They're going to, I mean, over under how many times they bring that up on the broadcast. I guarantee you it'll be close to how often they bring up Edgerrin James for UC basketball. I think that'll be thrown in there. They'll be like, I mean, look, some of these UC guys, you could tell they're gassed. It's the thin air, you know, up with the altitude up in Colorado. And I guess the jokes are done with the legalized weed, because now it's legal everywhere. So I think those jokes might be put to bed forever. And if you guys didn't listen, Lilly just dropped it right there. We got to root for not only UC, but Lilly's having the bachelor party out there. So this is a bigger game than even the game itself. This is the game of life for Lilly, and he needs a
Oh,
W on that front as well as a UCW. So this is big. This is twofold, man.
this is, I feel horrible. This is awful to say this, but this is close to like the Notre Dame game to me, like in terms of hype and what it feels like. And obviously, I'm not there yet, and not tailgating yet. You know, the college town, but like Notre Dame was magical. Like it's hard to explain to people who weren't there. It was just a perfect setting, and we got the dub, and that stadium was ours that day. And there's going to be a lot of Bearcats there on Saturday. This was a trip that like people had circled on their calendars. People love going to Colorado. It's an easy flight, direct flights to Denver. So it's it has a chance to be one of those road kills that you never forget about. So that's what I'm hoping for, and the Bearcats that are with me there will be loud.
I think we'll be traveling strong. It seems like we've done it all year. I can't imagine, and I know these tickets sold out very quickly. So I think we'll be traveling strong. I think there's going to be a lot of Cincinnati people. Like you said, it's easy to get there, direct flights to Denver all over the place. The one thing that we skipped over, which is clearly massive, and this will have a huge impact on the game, Travis Hunter is a go. From everything I've read, he is a full go. He had I think it was a shoulder injury that's been nagging him a little bit. So he's played very limited in the game against Arizona last week. Apparently, he's a full go. We'll see how true that is. As we know, college football injury reports are just straight up bullshit. So to put it lightly, we'll see. But he is a freak of nature. I don't know if I've seen an athlete like him in a very, very long time. I mean, hell, they were showing the highlights of him playing basketball. And I'm like, I mean, this guy could be a rotation player for the Nets right now. I mean, holy shit, he's jumping over the backboard, doing reverse slams. He's got a nice 3-point jumper. So I'm nervous about Travis Hunter, man, because he is a weapon, and it sounds like he's a full go.
I want him to play. Obviously I'm going to be there, so it's different, but he's a generational athlete, as people say right now. But he is a athlete, like generational athlete. He's going to play. He might play both ways in the NFL. Obviously, it would be much more limited depending on what team drafts him, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to see him out there. It'll be fun. And do you think his pick and roll game with Ben Simmons, do you think there's like a spacing issue there, or like do you think when he's on the Nets, like do you think he'll be able to?
Seen.
Okay, he has that burst, that first step, that quickness. I think maybe he could do something with Ben Simmons, maybe elevate his game too.
I agree. I think the Nets organization needs to look into that, because we might have a scenario where he's drafted 1 overall in the NFL and then also drafted in the first round of the NBA. I mean, the issue I would think is where are they getting the shots, because Cam Thomas likes to fire them. But from what I saw from the tape, he could hit threes. I know I saw about 8 seconds of it. But
and dunk.
Travis Hunter, and he could dunk, and he's a freak. But no, you're right. I'm glad he's playing. I always like playing teams at full strength. So we are at that spot in the show. Lilly, your time to shine. You mentioned the forced fumbles. Lo and behold, we got a forced fumble last week that changed the trajectory of the game. It was massive. It was huge. Got us the W, I believe. I think it changed momentum like crazy. What is your stat of the week heading into the Colorado game?
It did change the game. That's right when the momentum shifted. The peak punch. It's patented. That's his thing now. I should just go with it again, right? No, but let's go. Let's flip it a little here. We're going with Colorado. 21 sacks. They lead the Big 12 in sacks. People did not see this coming, including me, including you, I assume. They had 7 against Arizona last week, so it might be a little inflated because Arizona is chasing the game, throwing the ball every play. But it really just shows Colorado's defense is better than we expected. It's for real. And our offensive line, we've got D'Artagnan Tinsley back. We've got a full strength O line now. After the Arizona State game, we had some guys getting integrated. So this is the stat: the 21 sacks. Can our offensive line block Sorsby? And if there are some issues, which, I mean, inevitably there's going to be 1 or 2, will Sorsby turn those into big plays? Will he turn those into neutral plays rather than negative plays? That's going to be the big swing stat of the game for me, is how do we handle their pressure?
Oh, yeah. No, that'll be big. I mean, if we give Sorsby time like we've seen, he can dice you up. We got weapons all over the place. Xavier Henderson and Royer haven't slowed down really at all. I think we're going to see a heavy dose of them. And like we mentioned earlier, I think Corey Kiner's got to get going. We got to, assert our dominance in the run game. But I still have utmost confidence in Sorsby, because the way he can move on his feet, even if he does get that pressure, he seems to be able to finagle. It's almost like Mahomes-esque, where he just runs around back there, dances a little bit, and finds a guy. So I'm really excited to see this game, man. Really, that's what it comes down to. As a fan, I am fired up. I don't love the late start. I think me and Chuck, by the way, I think we're doing the post-game show. It might be
Wow.
4 a.m. So I already apologize if, my eyes are bloodshot and I'm, slurring my words because I'm damn near half asleep. But I think we're actually going to pull this off and do it. That being said, my stat of the week is just the ticket prices for Week 8 in college football. UC landed at number 3. At the cheapest seat in the house is $138. Now that's behind LSU and A&M, a huge matchup, and then behind Texas and Vanderbilt, and that's at Vanderbilt. And obviously Texas, a huge game, and Vandy just snuck into the top 25. So that's a big one. But it's just nice to see a UC ticket because, I mean, what were they going for last year? You had to pay somebody $60 to go to a UC game, and now they're going for the third most expensive ticket in all of college football. So I thought that was really cool to see. And like I said, I think UC is bringing a lot of people over to Colorado. I don't know what flights they're taking. Maybe it's Frontier for $120. Hopefully those, actually get to the destination. We don't have any delays. But yeah, it's exciting to see UC football get this much hype, man. I'm pumped up.
Yeah, and this is our first game all year where non-Cincinnati fans are going to watch it because all the noon games, the ESPN Plus, the one night game going against Bama, Georgia. So, and we got a lot of flights from CVG to Denver. I was shopping around for quite a few months trying to pick the right one. Don't worry, we're flying United. You don't have to worry, guys. We're not going Frontier. The
There you
bachelor
go.
party is intact, and yeah, we're gonna bring home the dub.
At least Frontier and Spirit are honest with you. I hate not to go on a flight tangent, but they're just like, listen, we know we're a shit show. We'll get you there at some point, okay? It might not be today. It might be tomorrow, but we'll get you there at some point. So, United, you should be in good hands over there, hopefully, barring some crazy – I don't think there's any weather issues, nothing like that. So, hopefully, everybody gets out to Colorado safely. Lilly has a fantastic bachelor party, and to top it off, the Cats get a W on the road, huge win, and improved to 4-1 in the Big 12. And then next week, Lilly, me and you are going to be talking about, hey, are we going to win the Big 12? Are we going to the playoff? So this should be fun, man. I'm excited again. Me and Chuck are going to be doing the live show, and barring some crazy, instance where we can't do it, but we should be going live after the show. I'm very interested to see if we get more than like 10 people joining live. I'm sure a lot of people will be listening to that in the morning. But rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Chatterbox Sports is the YouTube page. Chatterbox Bearcats is our Instagram and our podcast handle. Rate, subscribe, give us 5 stars, man. And hopefully we can keep this train rolling. But, yeah, until Saturday, we will see you, and thanks for joining.